Something changed about 10,000 years ago. Human beings had always looked up. But now, for the first time, they began to write down what they saw. Across the ancient world in Mesopotamia, Egypt, the Indus Valley, and Central America civilizations, with no contact with each other, all began watching the sky with unusual intensity. They named the stars, tracked the planets, built structures aligned to celestial events, and wove the heavens into their calendars, their religions, and their architecture. This is not coincidence. It is one of the most important stories about what it means to be human. Chapter 1. The star that tells you when to plant. Before cities, before writing, before war or law or religion, there was the problem of survival. Human beings are seasonal creatures on a seasonal planet. Planting grain 3 weeks too early or too late can mean the difference between harvest and starvation. For early farmers, the greatest challenge was knowing, reliably, where you were in the year. The sky solved that problem. Sirius, the brightest star visible from Egypt, disappears below the horizon for 70 days each year. Ancient Egyptians observed that Sirius reappeared in the pre-dawn sky at almost the same time. The Nile began its annual flood, the flood that deposited the rich soil, on which all Egyptian agriculture depended. They called this the rising of Sirius and built an entire calendar around it. Their architecture, including the Great Pyramid of Giza, was aligned to reflect these celestial events with great precision. Sirius did not cause the Nile flood, but it predicted it reliably. In a world without meteorological data, a reliable signal in the sky was worth everything. This is why civilizations watched the stars not because of mysticism, but because of food. Chapter 2. Babylon when the sky became science. In the valley of the Tigris and Euphrates, Babylonia built one of the earliest systematic traditions of astronomical observation. Babylonian astronomers, working from flat-topped temple towers called ziggurats, watched the sky night after night for centuries. They recorded. Clay tablets contain detailed logs of planetary movements, lunar cycles, and comets going back more than 2,000 years. They identified the moon's 29.5-day cycle, calculated the solar year to within minutes of modern measurements, and developed the concept of the zodiac, dividing the ecliptic into 12 sections. This was not astrology in the modern sense. It was the earliest form of predictive science. The Babylonians understood something profound: the sky repeats itself. If you know the pattern, you can see the future not through magic, but through mathematics. This insight became the foundation on which Greek, Persian, and Islamic astronomy would be built, methods that remained in use for more than 2,000 years. Chapter 3. Egypt, the sky carved in stone. In Egypt, the connection between the heavens and the earth was not kept in tablets. It was carved in stone. The 3 pyramids at Giza mirror the 3 stars of Orion's belt, a constellation associated with Osiris, god of death and resurrection. Pyramid passages align to the north celestial pole. The Great Pyramid's shafts point toward specific stars with precision. Temples throughout Egypt were oriented, so sunlight entered on specific days, solstices, and equinoxes. The Temple of Abu Simbel is designed so that twice each year, the rising sun illuminates the inner sanctuary and falls directly on the statues of the gods. For the Egyptians, the sky was not separate from the sacred. The movements of the sun, moon, and stars were the movements of the gods themselves. Aligning a building with the heavens was not decoration. It was theology. If Sirius always returned, if the sun always rose at the same point on the same day, then the gods were constant. Death was not the end, because everything that set also rose again. The stars were proof that the world made sense. Chapter 4. The Maya counting the sky. On the other side of the world, in the jungles of Mexico, Guatemala, and Belize, another civilization was finding its own answers. The Maya had no contact with Egypt, no knowledge of Babylon. Yet they built observatories, tracked Venus with a precision rivaling modern calculations, and developed a calendar. so accurate that over 5,000 years it drifts by only one day. Venus rises as a morning star, disappears, and returns as an evening star, completing this cycle in approximately 584 days, precisely enough to predict future appearances centuries in advance. At Chichen Itza, El Castillo is designed so that on the equinoxes, shadows on its staircase create the illusion of a serpent descending from sky to earth. For the Maya, time itself was sacred geometry. The stars were the heartbeat of a living universe. Understanding them was the highest duty of civilization. Chapter 5. India and China. Different skies, the same questions. The oldest astronomical records from India appear in the Vedas, written more than 3,000 years ago. They describe the nakshatra system, a division of the sky, into 27 segments, based on the moon's monthly position. Indian astronomers connected celestial events to religious ceremonies and agriculture. Specific stars marked the planting of crops and the timing of monsoons. In China, the tradition was equally ancient. Chinese astronomers recorded solar eclipses, comets, and unusual celestial events going back more than 3,000 years. The imperial court maintained official astronomers for this purpose. The Chinese concept of Qianming, the mandate of heaven, held that the right to rule was connected to alignment with the cosmos. Disruptions in the sky foretold disruptions on Earth. This was not superstition, but a sophisticated system, built on centuries of careful observation. Chapter 6. Why all at once? The pattern is clear. Across thousands of miles and thousands of years, Egypt, Babylon, the Maya, India, China, human beings built the same relationship with the sky. They watched, recorded, aligned their sacred spaces to celestial events, and embedded the movements of sun, moon, planets, and stars into their calendars, their religion, and their understanding of time itself. Why did this happen in so many places at once? The first answer is obvious. They were all looking at the same sky. The Pleiades rise at the same time of year in Egypt or Mexico. Venus follows the same cycle in Babylon or the Indus Valley. The sky was the first universal language. The second answer is survival. Agricultural civilizations needed precise calendars, which required tracking the sky. Any civilization that developed farming would sooner or later turn to the stars not from wonder alone, but from necessity. The third answer is the human mind itself. We are pattern-seeking creatures. Our survival depended on finding patterns, the tracks of animals, the cycles of seasons, the return of fruit to trees. When human minds turned toward the sky, they brought that same irresistible instinct. Find the pattern, name it, record it, use it. The sky rewarded that instinct magnificently. The most reliable pattern machine in existence. Chapter 7. What they found. When they looked up. But something else happened when ancient people looked at the stars, something beyond agriculture and calendars. They found that the universe had an order extending far beyond the human world. Every civilization that watched the sky long enough came to the same realization. The heavens move with mathematical precision, indifferent to human affairs. The sun rises at the same angle every year. The moon cycles regardless of war or peace. The stars return whether the harvest was good or bad. If there are laws governing the movements of stars that no king and no catastrophe can alter, then order is real. Pattern is not a human invention. It is a feature of reality itself. This is the insight that launched philosophy, mathematics, and eventually science. Greek thinkers, building on Babylonian data, asked why the heavens moved as they did. They proposed models, debated geometry, and arrived at a universe governed by mathematical law, not improved until Kepler and Newton 2,000 years later. Epilogue, the same night sky. Tonight, the same stars ancient Egyptians used to time. The Nile flood are above you. Venus will rise again tomorrow morning, following the same 584-day cycle Maya astronomers calculated. Nothing has changed about the sky. What has changed is us. We no longer need the stars to plant crops or navigate ships. Technology has replaced that necessity. But something remains. When people look up at a clear night sky away from city lights, where the Milky Way stretches overhead, something difficult to explain happens. A sense of scale. A sense of belonging to something far larger than any individual life. That feeling is not new. It is what ancient Egyptians felt. Watching Sirius rise, what Babylonian astronomers felt working out the pattern of the planets, and what Maya builders intended you to feel at the foot of a pyramid, as the equinox sun traced its shadow across the stone. The ancient civilizations looked up because they had to, but they kept looking because the sky answered, something that mere survival could not satisfy. They were searching for what we still search for, the sense that the universe makes sense, that there is order beneath the chaos, that what appears above is reflected in what is below. They found it in the stars. And if you look up on the right night in the right place, you will still find it there. Which ancient civilization's connection to the stars moves you most? Leave a comment below. If this moved you, please like, subscribe, and share. We will see you in the next chapter.